You ever have a night that sticks to you like smoke? One that lingers in your lungs for days, years even, and no matter how far you move from it, you still breathe it in? That night with Greg, yeah, that was mine. We hadn't seen each other in almost 10 years. Not really. A few texts now and then, a half-hearted happy birthday, the occasional social media like that felt more like a memory than a connection. But he messaged me one night, said he was in town and wanted to catch up. I was surprised, sure, but also curious. I'd known Greg since we were kids. He was always the wild one, mischievous, impulsive, magnetic. You never quite knew where you stood with him, but back in high school, that was half the appeal. So I said yes. He showed up late. Looked like a shadow of the guy I remembered, thinner, darker around the eyes, and not just tired. It was like something had hollowed him out. He brought a bottle of whiskey, that same Irish brand we used to sneak in college, and I thought, here we go again. We sat on my porch, like no time had passed, drinking in the heat and the hum of cicadas. For a while, it felt like old times. We swapped stories, caught up on jobs and exes and family stuff. He was living in Chicago now, working in logistics or freight or something equally nondescript. Said he was making money but didn't sleep well anymore. I thought it was the usual burnout. But then, the tone shifted. Subtly at first. He got quieter, eyes a little glassier. He started bringing up high school, not just memories, but people I hadn't thought about in ages. And that's when Adam Parker's name came up. Now, I don't know if you remember Adam. He was a year ahead of us. Tall, kind of lanky, always had that serious look like he was older than the rest of us. I hadn't seen him since senior year. Everyone said he moved out west with his family, Colorado, I think. I didn't question it. People leave. Greg asked if I remembered him, and I said yeah, of course. That's when everything started to go wrong. He told me Adam never moved. At first I thought he was joking. Or drunk. Or both. But Greg got quiet. Still. And the way he started talking, it wasn't the usual Greg showmanship. It was like something heavy had finally broken open inside him. He said back in senior year, the two of them skipped school one afternoon and went out to Ravens Ridge, this cliffside trail on the edge of town where we all used to party and drink and dare each other to do stupid things. Greg said they were smoking, talking trash, and Adam said something that pissed him off. Something about a girl. And then Greg pushed him. Not hard, apparently. Just a shove. But Adam slipped. Lost his footing. Hit the rocks. And he didn't get back up. Greg said he panicked. Climbed down to check on him, but it was already too late. So he buried him. Right there, under a pile of rocks in a hollow near the ledge. Then he just left. Drove home. Told people Adam moved. Burned his stuff. Like it never happened. I sat there in stunned silence, the bottle between us, my pulse so loud I could barely hear him. I didn't know what to say. I didn't even know what to think. Was he confessing? Or was this some sick, elaborate story? I couldn't tell. But something about the way he looked, like a man already halfway to hell, made it feel real. He said he hadn't told anyone. Ever. Until me. Because lately, he said, he thought someone knew. A few weeks before he showed up, he'd started getting letters. Anonymous. No name, no address, just short messages printed in plain type. The first said, I saw what you did. Then another, you'll tell someone soon. Or I will. That's why he came to me. Not because he wanted to make peace. But because he didn't know what else to do. I couldn't sleep that night. Greg passed out on the couch. I just sat in the kitchen with the lights off, trying to piece everything together. Trying to remember what I knew. What I might have seen. What I might have forgotten. And then something surfaced. A memory I'd buried so deep it barely had shape. I remembered being in the backseat of Greg's truck. My head against the window. Trees rushing past. My mouth tasted like smoke and blood. I remembered Greg saying I'd fallen. That I hit my head. That I'd passed out. He drove me home, put me to bed, said not to worry about it. But that night, the one he was talking about with Adam? I was there. I don't know how I forgot. Or maybe I didn't forget, I just never let myself know. The next morning, Greg was gone. Just vanished. No goodbye. No note. Just the half-empty bottle and his glass still on the porch railing, like he never left. A week later, I went to Ravens Ridge. I followed the trail down to the edge. Everything looked the same. Still and untouched, like nothing bad had ever happened there. But then I saw it, just off the path. A section of dirt that didn't belong. Like the ground had been disturbed and forgotten, the kind of grave someone makes when they don't want anyone looking. I didn't dig. I called the police. The remains they found were Adam's. Confirmed by dental records. Old injuries. Broken ribs. Skull fracture. Just like Greg said. They also found Greg's car a few miles away. Parked at a rest stop. Blood on the seat. Keys in the ignition. No sign of Greg. They treated it like a suicide. I wasn't so sure. A few days after the investigation started, a detective came by. Asked me about Greg. Asked if he'd said anything strange. I told her about the letters. Gave her what I had. She looked troubled. Said they were checking into who might have sent them, but there were no fingerprints, no DNA. Nothing. But here's the thing. 3 days after that visit, I got a letter too. It wasn't typed. It was written by hand. In my handwriting. I stared at it for a long time. At the message inside. Just one line, "You pushed him." I saw. I swear I didn't write it. I don't even remember writing it. But the longer I sat with it, the more it started to feel familiar. Like something inside me already knew it was true. Because what if Greg didn't push Adam? What if I did? What if I was drunk that day, angry, jealous, careless, and Greg cleaned it up? Took the fall. Protected me. What if I've been living a life that was never really mine to keep? A few nights ago, I found another letter. Slipped under my door. This one said, "You buried the truth. But it's still breathing." And now, I wake up at 3:14 every morning, exactly when the knock comes. Always 3 slow taps on the window. And there's never anyone there.